panel knows, I have a bill. The committee staff has presented you with the draft. Many of you have made comments on it. And, you know, the point is we have small companies that maybe at the time, whether it's Whole Foods or Apple, Microsoft, Dell, that at the time started life as small companies that eventually moved to prominence. You know, my thought process here is to incentivize small companies to seek our exchanges, to seek the public markets. It's good not only for the institution, but great for small investors and those that are concerned about retirement savings and the like. And so, but you know, with the advent of high-frequency trading and markets being what they are, liquidity begets liquidity. So how do you help those that are on the edges? The comment made just a few minutes ago is we're not talking about a large percentage of the market, whether in cap or the amount of trading, but an important segment so that we can have folks get on to the public markets. So the idea being that you have some liquidity support. So with market fragmentation, high frequency trading, you know, those top names get, you know, the enormous focus. They get lots of liquidity as well. So Mr. Niederauer and Mr. Joyce, you mentioned this, but what, in essence, if you could describe what you'd expect to be included in a liquidity support agreement if my legislation were to pass?
Well, your point is well made. I think the data has proven that most jobs are created post-IPO. So we certainly want to encourage as much of this as possible, getting companies into the public markets. I would say that we've talked about three main things, tick sizes being one, and under the heading of tick sizes, if they're wider, they may encourage more market makers to participate, more market makers to sponsor the stocks, the companies in question, more market makers to perhaps pick up research of the stocks and companies in question. I also think you need to make sure that you're comfortable with the relationship between the investment banking entity that is arguably bringing the company public and their own in-house research department. It's not always nefarious. It's not always what it's been portrayed in the press. Usually they work well hand in glove, and it's a very beneficial relationship to have research support a new company. So again, I would go to allow issuers to pay for market-making support if that's the way they want to proceed. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of money, but it would be something that would be incentive. Make sure you allow research to articulate the story so that the general public will be interested in it, and think about widening the tick size to encourage market makers to participate more frequently than they currently do.
And we've done things like this in other product areas already, so we think it's very applicable. In the markets we operate in Europe, this is already much more the rule than the exception. So we know there's some long-standing rules here that we hope your legislation will give us an opportunity to revisit, right? So we know that it's historically been thought of as, well, we're not going to allow such a thing as a company incenting someone to provide liquidity in their security. We think your legislation opens the door, and we'd be happy to work with you to do that. We also hope that the profit opportunity by widening out the spread for the dealers will make it easy for those markets to stay transparent. Ideally, from our point of view, I realize it's talking our own book, stay on exchange, which we think would be healthier. And we hope that one of the outcomes of this would not be that that gives a perverse incentive for people to make the markets more opaque, but I think we'd be willing to take that chance, because I think your first point's the right one, excuse me. This is not only good for these small companies, investors, it's good for the country, right? Because this is where job creation comes from. These are the backbone of America, and we need to get back to where we are facilitating their entry to the capital markets, which is the only growth capital they can get their hands on that can help them be great companies someday, and we have to give them their start.
So what protections are required in Europe to allow this basic liquidity support to be provided by broker-dealers? What is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the good news is there's not many required, because it's just simply a pragmatic approach to saying that a lot of the benefits of market innovation, as you pointed out, Congressman, have helped the big companies. They really haven't helped the SMEs. and that's not just in the United States. That's all around the world. So there's not a huge set of rules around this. It's just simply a pragmatic approach, kind of like the Jobs Act and the approach we took on Reg A was, where it didn't require a huge amount of infrastructure around it. It's just common sense that says we need to create incentives for people to support these companies when they're in the public market. So we can share that with your staff, but it is not complicated in the slightest.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I thank you, Mr. McHenry, and I thank the panel as well. I believe that concludes all the members are here for for questioning for the first panel. So I thank you very much for your time, your testimony. It was fascinating. Right. And with regard to this panel as well, the general rule applies that the members may have additional questions, and the committee is open for 30 days as far as submitting those questions to the members of the panel, and we'd ask them